You know you're live right now because it says you're live. That's how you can tell.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we always start just about every episode.
Got it.
Welcome to the Burnham podcast. This is the Sunday special edition, and the theme is Father's Day. As it happens, I'm here with my father, Cliff Burnham. Nice to have you on, Dad.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
We've been talking about doing this, and we'll do it again, but this is, I thought, Father's Day was probably a great time to get the ball rolling and get you on for the first time. This is only awkward about the first 30 times you do it.
Okay.
You get used to
After
it.
that, you lose
So we'll have you on another 29 times.
Get into
Don't feel good about it.
That's cool.
But we're going to talk about Father's Day and a little bit about what Father's Day means to us and what being a father means, and we'll put a little personal perspective onto it. And it's kind of weird to say Father's Day over and over, talking about Sunday and Father's Day, and it's not, because it's Saturday when we're recording this.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say stuff like that because everybody knows this is a podcast. We were talking before we went live about what a podcast was and how you read a blog and you listen to a podcast. Anyway, Father's Day. I'll throw you under the bus right off the bat. What does Father's Day mean to you?
Well, let me do this. Let me explain to your audience who your dad is.
Go for it.
Danny explains all these things to me about what's going on here, what this is, how it transpires, what all's involved, because I'm known as the low-tech redneck. I mean, there's no tech in anything that I know, do, or think. So I have sons that are quite adept at these things, and they help me a lot, and I appreciate that. So I wanted to help the audience understand where I'm coming from.
I got you.
Your mom talked me into getting an iPhone a couple of years ago, and folks have been trying to drag me into the 21st century ever since. So, but that's okay.
You made it.
Father's Day is a special day, but we spent some time with some friends of ours earlier today, and one of the ladies that was there, daughter of my best friend, she was talking about her husband. He's a professional sports fisherman and guide for fishing, and she was talking about how this weekend he didn't have any business this weekend. Nobody was going fishing. They were all staying home with their families. And I thought, there you go. That's a description of Father's Day, where the father doesn't do what he wants to do. He does what the family wants to do
Right.
because it's Father's Day. And that makes sense. It's and in many instances, it's descriptive of being a father, because there's a lot of times in being a father that you have to do what needs to be done, or what's good for everybody else, as opposed to doing for yourself. So I just thought that was kind of neat how she described that.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. So anyway,
Father's Day gets planned out for us.
Yeah, exactly.
We end up operating the grill.
And you know how I've always felt about my birthday. My birthday was special, not because I'd ever had a party or ever had a get together or whatever. My birthday was special because that was the day that I got to do what I wanted to do. So,
That's it. That's it.
So anyway, but Father's Day, it's a special time. It's a time to think about your family and what that means, and how blessed we are, and how we have a father ourselves, and we are. In fact, it's interesting. I was looking at it this morning in Romans, how it talks about how God adopts us into His family, and we are sons and daughters of our Lord. And so I love to try to think of fathers in the sense of our Heavenly Father,
Right.
And how He loves us beyond anything we could imagine. And hopefully, as a father, we try to love our families that way too, unconditionally and sacrificially. And so it's not a burden to miss out on a day because you're doing what your family wants to do. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to have all that.
Yeah. And you end up spending the day with your family and people you love anyway. And
yeah,
so it's not, you don't necessarily plan it out yourself and get to have your say so, kind of like your birthday party, but it works out because it's, you're with the people you want to be with wherever you end up going. And
that's right.
And it's a cool day. And you brought exactly what I was hoping you would bring to the podcast. That was awesome. By the way, that was great. You threw in the scripture reference and all this stuff. To me, and I haven't been a father, obviously, nearly as long as you have, but
that'd be kind of tough.
It would be. Considering, there's a chicken and egg scenario going there. But but what Father's Day, as you did this to me, I lose my train of thought. When I think of Father's Day, is there's a verse. It's in Jude, and I say a verse in Jude because in case you didn't know, Jude doesn't have chapters.
Yeah, just one.
There's just one. It's just Jude, and I want to say it's like verse 5 or 6. It's pretty close to the front. The writer says, "There's no greater blessing than knowing my children are living well." And that may not be exactly right, depending on which translation you're looking at. But it's always a blessing to me for people to tell me, I have your daughter at school, your son at school, and they're awesome. We love having them in class, and they're so good. Or their Sunday school teacher, or whoever, that they're nice and respectful, and all those things. And they haven't grown into adults yet, so I'm not looking at their career and going, man, it's nice to know my kids are successful, but they're headed in that direction, and so that's cool to watch. And it is. It's a tremendous blessing knowing that your kids are out there when they're away from you. They're doing the right things. They don't always do that, at home, and sometimes my son's probably next door climbing the curtains right now. But it's nice to hear that they're being who they should be when they're not with you. Thinking back, it's been 27 years ago since you guys, I guess, had my youngest brother / co-host Drew Burnham. What's it like? What were you thinking as far back? My older brother's, he's 43, and then my youngest brother's 27. There's one between me and Drew that's 30. He's gonna be 35 now. 6. Yeah, I'm 39. What's going through your mind for anybody that's watching that's not a father? What's going through your mind in the hospital when you're in that moment right before there's no baby, and then seconds literally later there's a baby?
Well, let's go back even further than that.
All right.
I remember the greatest fear I've ever felt in my life. And
I know where you're going.
Without going into details, I've been shot at, and I've been in a lot of awkward situations years ago. But the most fear that I've ever experienced in my life was when your mom told me that we were going to have a baby, our first, Sam.
Yeah,
I cannot describe the fear that gripped me when it just hit me suddenly that I was going to be responsible for another human being, a person that could not care for themselves, could not take care of themselves, and they would be dependent on me and your mom for absolutely everything.
Yeah.
That thought petrified me. I mean, it was the greatest fear I've ever felt in my life. And and it took me a little while to settle into that. But, let me say this. You can't, to be a really great father, you have to have an awesome wife. I'm convinced of that. I really am. And your mom she's an incredible lady, and I love her to death. And she has added so much to my life, and she has helped me so much in becoming a father and becoming a person, for that matter. And I wanted to point that out. You don't do this alone. I'm not throwing off on single fathers that have to take care of their kids on their own,
right? Because
there are some circumstances where that happens. But to be the absolute best you can be, you have to have a partner in life that is there with you.
Yeah.
I mean, they're shoulder to shoulder with you. They support you. They back you up. They help you in every way they can to be who you need to be.
Yeah.
And I've had that, and So I'm grateful, and I can't complain about a thing.
Yeah, well, to prove your point, we live next door to each other. I'm right across the yard from mom and dad here, and my wife is at home with our 10 and 5-year-old, and they're, like I said, they're up to who knows what right now. But she's doing that so I can come over here and do this podcast with my dad about Father's Day. So that's something that's kind of small, but it's part of the big picture where, like he said, there's your wife supports you, and you can't be the father that you're supposed to be and do the things that you're supposed to do without that support. And God bless the guys that are doing it, themselves, and those guys are out there. But in that same light, I got a little different perspective from you, because when I got married and became a dad the same day. And my wife already had, we've talked about this on previous episodes of the podcast before. My wife had a 4-year-old when we got married. So, all the fear and the stuff that you were talking about, we're going to have this baby and this thing's going to be totally dependent on us. And I got to feed it and change diapers. And we got to pay for this, and mine came as a 4-year-old. Like, we skipped over a bunch of that stuff, but at the same time, leading up to, our wedding day, I'm thinking, man, this is like, we were engaged for 4 months, 4.5 months, 4 months, not even 4 months. And then we got married, and we had only dated for a few months before that. So in that period of time, I had to wrap my brain around becoming a dad to a 4-year-old, without all the, and God bless you, man. If you're in the same situation that I'm in, it's tough. It's tough to raise a child that's not biologically yours. But if you are going to marry that mother, you have to be that kid's dad. You have to have that relationship. And just a little piece of advice, when Jessica and I first started dating, I'm just going to talk for a minute if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So when Jessica and I first started dating, she has this little girl, this 4-year-old. She turned 4 while we were dating. And I knew that if we were going to have a long-term relationship, Jessica and I was going to have a relationship with Ayla. So I needed something that was just mine and hers, that I had to do something that could be special just between me and her. So I thought of a nickname. I started calling her Doodlebug, and I still call her, over 6 years later now, I still call her Doodlebug. And she looks at me kind of funny sometimes because she's 10 and it doesn't seem as cute to her as it did when she was 4. But so I started calling her that, and that was our thing that we have. So if if you're struggling, you got this stepchild and you're in that relationship, come up and find something that belongs to just you, that's special, just between the 2 of you, or the 3 of you, or however many kids there are, with each of those kids individually. You got to make that connection. So, that builds trust and does all kinds of things that are necessary when you're trying to be this kid's dad, and they know, he's not my real dad, and all that stuff. But you got to build that relationship. It's got to be something that's important to you, so it will be important to them. But that's just the little bit of different perspective. And then I went through the whole other thing you're talking about when we had Joseph just over a year later. Everything happened kind of fast for us. We got married in April, and then we had Joseph the next March. So I was going through all that same stuff in the first year of marriage, and then you guys had kids pretty early too, or you had Sam pretty early after y'all got married too. But we were looking at 11 months after we got married.
Well, with Sam, it was 2 years.
Yeah, but you're still, I was a lot older than you, and I still didn't feel like I had it all together. And then all of a sudden, we got this one kid, and then here comes this other one. But it's been great. And I asked you what you thought, what your thoughts were on Father's Day or about being a dad in general. And I think one of my favorite things to do is ignore my kids just for a minute to make them say "Daddy" just a couple more times, because I like hearing it. But sometimes it ends up being like 9 times, and I'm doing something else, and I should be paying attention to them. But
I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
Another story that I haven't done this in a long time, because somebody has to set it up without realizing it. But it was so. I used to love to do this to your mom. We got married in March of 1973, and Sam was born in April of 1975. 2 years and a month later.
Yeah.
So you in conversation with friends and whatever, you always talk about, especially when Sam was younger and he was at home, people would say, "Oh, how old is he?" and da 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 da. And I'd work it into the conversation that we got married in March and he was born in April.
Yeah,
and your mom would always jump in. Immediately and say 2 years later.
Well, I'm sure, when people found out that we were expecting, they were doing the math on ours too. But
oh, yeah. But I used to do that on purpose. I'd say, we got married in March and Sam was born in April. 2 years later.
Right. Well, I guess, like I said, I'm sure they were doing it. But there's no way to slice from April to March and it not add up. So, we had that going for us.
Yeah. But anyway, but the thing, and another thing too that I tell. In fact, I was talking to a young lady at the bank about this the other day that works there. And she's a wonderful young lady, and she's got 2 little boys, her and her husband. And I tell all young people this: enjoy them, make memories, do things together, and make that bond where you do special things with them, and don't let it, because it'll get away from you so fast and they're gone so fast. You mentioned Ayla being 10 years old. That means in about 8 years, she's going to be thinking about college or some type of professional life or whatever. So it's just over. And we've done it 4 times now.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from experience, it's over so fast. And so my advice to young families, young dads, young moms, enjoy them, make those memories, And when I say make a memory, it doesn't have to be a trip to Disney World. It could be, playing in the bathtub, giving them a bath but we don't get so busy with life that you make everything a schedule.
Yeah, not everything has to be a momentous, occasion.
Not just that, but when you put, I got to get you in the bath at 8:05, and you got to be out of the bath at 8:15. You got to be, use those opportunities to have a little fun, enjoy them, and do things that they would that they'll remember you for.
Yeah,
when the stories they will tell to their children.
Right, I remember what my dad did
about their mom and dad. Yeah. So, but one of my things that I enjoyed as a dad is something you said just recently, when you said you were talking to Joseph about something, and suddenly you realized you sounded just like your dad.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody about that within the last day or two. The guy at the parts store that knows you. I walked in and leaned up on the counter and said something to him, and he was like, "Man, you look just like Cliff Burnham when you did that." And I said, "Yeah, I'm catching myself, more and more." The older I get, I notice, is that something Dad would have said, or something he would have done, or I would have worried about, or whatever. But yeah, you catch yourself turning into your dad as you get older. That's not not a bad thing. It's the first couple times you notice it's a little bit weird, but you're a pretty good guy, by all accounts. So it's it works out. But you have another different perspective than I do. I've never been a granddad before, obviously.
Yeah.
So what's the difference in dad and granddad?
Well, granddad is you don't really have to worry about the training and the discipline and the downside of parenting, where you have to be you have to be the person that draws the boundaries and make sure that all the everything's observed as it should be. You can be a little more flexible, and you can enjoy them more. Yeah. And as a grandparent, well, like you said, living next door to 2 of my grandchildren, they can come over and hang out for a little while, and then they go home. Yeah. I don't have to worry about, unless we wanted to or whatever. I don't have to worry about giving them a bath. I don't have to worry about whether they're in bed on time. Yeah. Unless they spend the night with us. And I don't have to worry about those day-to-day details. I can just enjoy my time with my grandkids.
Are you still chasing around the house, turning the lights out after them, right?
Yeah, now I do that. Yeah. I know. That's That's one
And
thing
the front
after
door,
another. Yeah, the two things is all the lights in the house being on and the front door being open with the air conditioning going full blast.
Georgia,
of course.
too. It's hot outside.
Yeah, a little humid, little hot, and Georgia. I'm sure Georgia Power loves it when you leave the front door open.
Oh, I'm sure they're big fans of my kids because they're doing it at 2 or 3 houses.
Yeah,
just leave the doors open everywhere they go.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
So anyway, being a grandparent, it's different, and it's a lot, and it's fun. And you mentioned the doodlebug thing with Ayla.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did the same thing because we had to be. We had to establish that relationship with Ayla because she's our granddaughter.
Right.
And that's it. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. She's our granddaughter. That's how we think about her. That's how we feel about her. And so right off the bat, I just saw she was just this beautiful, really cute little girl. And the name came to me, Baby Girl. So anybody that knows me knows that I call Ayla Baby Girl.
Yeah, that's what you call her every time she walks in the door.
And, anytime I speak to her, I say, hey, baby girl, how you doing about this, about that? And I didn't do that necessarily on purpose, but it's had the same effect. It's given us, she and I, something personal between us that we share. Is I have and anybody that knows Cliff Burnham, the man that does not have a nickname, everybody that I love and care about has a nickname. Yeah, I won't share what his nickname was.
No, I'm old now.
You can do that?
Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll tell the story. It's Father's Day. Yeah.
Okay.
This is a beautiful father-son moment. Danny, when he was, an infant, to me, he looked, I'd look at him sometimes and he'd look like a little bug. And then sometimes I'd look at him and he'd look like Piglet. So I came up with this name, Buglet. And I called him Buglet. And finally, he's 9 years old, and he's playing for me on a little youth basketball team. Mm-hmm. And we're out there. It's like our first or second practice that we did that year. And it's the first time he's played with me. And so, I'm giving all the kids instruction, and I'm calling them by name. And every time I would have to address him, I'd call him Buglet. So he kind of comes over and kind of gets up close to me, and he says, hey, Dad, do you think out here with the guys that you could call me Daniel or Danny? And I said, yeah, I can do that. And that was kind of the end of Buglet. It kind of died at 9. But that was his nickname. Sam was Tater. Yeah. And I didn't give that name to him. Our former pastor gave him that name because he and his wife, Clarice, came over to the house one night, and Sam was barely 1, I think, or he was just crawling around. And the wife had a potato bin up under the cabinet, and he had opened the cabinet door and was pulling the potatoes out on the floor. And we went into the kitchen to see what the noise was, and our pastor was with us, and he called him Tater, and it stuck. So that's kind of past too. We don't call him Tater much anymore. And then Matt came along, and he was little, but he was almost fearless.
Yeah,
and I started
feisty little guy.
And I started calling him Mighty Matt. And then, but I call Andrew, and everybody else calls him Drew. Yeah. But I guess that's my nickname for him, is call him by his actual name. So, and all these are to say, this is part of being a dad.
Yeah.
And but anyway, to get back to the original point, she's Baby Girl. Now, Joseph, he was about 3 or 4 weeks old, and I was holding him in my hands, and I looked right at him, and I said, "This is dunamis." And for those of you out there that may not have a clue what dunamis is, that's the word that's used in Scripture for power. And it doesn't mean just like strength. It means it's the word we get our word dynamite from.
Yeah.
Explosive power. And so I started calling him dunamis, and it's kind of been a self-fulfilling prophecy. He's explosive power at times.
He's a go-getter. He really is.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how that works.
Yeah, I was hoping to get around to dunamis.
Yeah.
But he lives up to that one.
Yes, he does.
He's wide open.
Yeah,
it's got one speed.
So it's, but that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
It's fun.
In a culture that's slowly trying to rob men of boyhood and manhood. No, it's good to see little boys that still are adventurous and don't mind taking on a challenge and want to see what's on the other side of that horizon.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I had to stop him earlier today. I was out cutting grass, and we've got the yard, that's around our house, and then behind that there's a fence, and then there's a pasture and a barn, all kinds of stuff. We hadn't cut the grass in the pasture since last year, so it's probably 5 feet tall. So I'm cutting the grass this morning just in our regular backyard, kind of off to one side, and I see in my periphery Joseph comes out the back door. He's got on a backpack and he's got a couple of those hiking poles, and he's going on an adventure. So I'm watching him, and he's starting out into these tall weeds. And I stopped him because I know there's a snake or two out there. I've seen him recently, but yeah, speaking of being adventurous, that's where he was headed. And it was, I got out early this morning. This was probably 9:30, I guess. He was ready to roll, had his hiking boots on and jeans and everything because he knew he was going to walk through tall grass, so he needed, all this stuff. But yeah, he's a little dunamis all day, every day.
Yeah.
But he calls me daddy, and that's pretty cool. I like that.
There you go. There you go. But it's just, being a dad and it's neat because you're a family. Mm-hmm. And families, they pull for each other and they support each other and they're there for each other. But at the same time, you have all these individual relationships inside that family, and that's kind of neat too.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you can enjoy that.
Everybody has their own different frequency.
Yeah, everybody. Well, we're our own person, so we're
Well, I know I relate differently to. I have 3 brothers, and I relate differently to Sam than I do to Matt because they're completely different people. And I can talk to both of them, but I can't talk to both of them the way that I talk to the other one. And it's but you need those different relationships going.
Yeah, they're different.
As a father, you're different with each of your kids because they have different personalities and different needs, and especially little girls because they get emotional, and you got to be there when they cry. You wouldn't know anything about that because there's 4 of us boys.
No, that's
that was a whole different thing for me.
Well, and again, mentioning Lynn, your mom, she had 7 brothers, and then she had a husband, and then she had 4 sons, and now she's got 5, 6 grandsons and 1 granddaughter. So we've got 1 girl in 3 generations. So it's we don't know much about girls.
Which, by the way, pretty much makes me the favorite because I brought the girl in.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Scoring points with Nana.
Yep, very much so. Very much so. So I have to give her all the credit in the world for the way she's handled all that over the years.
Yeah, she's done well at she's been to ball games and all the stuff we've always been into.
Yeah, for any of you guys out there, let me give you something to be envious about. My wife can sit and talk to you intelligently about football, and she likes going to football.
Yeah, so genuinely.
So for all you guys out there that have trouble having time to watch a game, I don't have that problem.
Yeah. Which I guess the mom's fault is that she said there was no way she was doing this. She wouldn't be on the podcast with us.
Well,
and me and Jessica talked about it on the Mother's Day show, and we were like, I think she would do it. I came and asked her. No,
let me tell you, your mom would do great.
I know she would. I get her on.
Yes,
I'll have to make her do it.
No, she'd be awesome. She'd be awesome. She is so calm and cool. She tells me that she's going crazy on the inside, but in situations where you're being seen, even in public and that kind of thing, when she taught she taught kindergarten, she'd stand up in front of everybody and lead those little guys in programs and what have you. And I just thought she was a natural. And then after it was over with, she'd talk about how petrified she was. Yeah. So, but no, she'd do fine. She would do fine.
Yeah, maybe we'll get her on someday.
Yeah.
But unless you have anything else to add, I think we're going to jump off here.
No, that's I've enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you for asking me.
Me too. We'll do it again
to be on, and I hope that I didn't lose any of your followers
No,
in the process.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Speaking of followers, you know, tell people where they can find you on social media. We always do this at the end.
Find me on social media.
What's your Twitter?
I think I explained that at the beginning.
No, Dad's not on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Danny J. Burnham. That's the same on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me there. We're on Facebook, Fire Christian Media. Where else are we? FireChristianMedia.com. FireChristianMedia@gmail.com if you'd be interested in sponsoring the show, or just let us know how we can pray for you, or anything along those lines. But thank you for watching, or for listening, or for whatever format you're checking us out in, and God bless you, and we'll see you next time.